Today we are going to cover the new 28mm plastic US Airborne from Warlord Games. Now these US Airborne figures are probably the best plastic sprue that they've released in recent memory. So yes, very privileged to be painting these and I absolutely love painting US Paras for Normandy, especially because I'm just an absolute fanboy of the TV series Band of Brothers. So let's really get stuck into this.
On me! Shift your fire right! Down! Come on! You're gonna get me killed, Lieutenant!
Now, if you'd like to pick up some of these fantastic new US Airborne from Warlord Games in their M42 uniforms, you can find them at the Warlord Games website, but under pre-order because they're not available yet, so you have to pre-order them, but sometimes I know Warlord get those pre-orders out early, so you might get lucky. So to start off with, we want to give our model a prime of Tamiya Surface Primer light grey, and then we can go ahead and give the uniform a coat of US Field Drab. So US Field Drab is obviously like a sort of a mix between brown and like a khaki colour. So this is obviously the colour you're going to get, and it's a fantastic base colour for that uniform that's so iconic for Normandy, especially if you want to get sort of that Band of Brothers theme to it. Then for these reinforced knee pads and elbow pads, I'm going to be using US dark green. You can also use US dark green for the helmet, as well as if he was carrying, say, like an ammo box, or if he had a bazooka, you know, anything that was of that like dark US dark green, as you can see here. And as I said, I paint the helmet in that colour as well. Then with that done, we want to pick a colour that's similar to khaki. So I'm using khaki, just make sure it doesn't blend in with the uniform too much, which this paint doesn't when you compare it to that US Field Drab, which is really good. So I'm going to be painting this in khaki. So that's all of his webbing, his backpack, his water bottle, obviously just not the water bottle lid, his leg straps that are on there, his rifle sling as well. So yeah, lots of this equipment needs to be painted in that colour. Then for his jump boots, I'm going to be painting those in saddle brown. You can use like mahogany brown. It's a bit more of it's got a bit more of a red tinge to it. Sorry, I got mixed up all there. But saddle brown was just close at hand, and I thought, you know what, it looks good enough, especially once it's been dry brushed, etc., with the ground colours I'm going to be using. And then using that same colour for his chin strap as well, and also if he had a pistol holster. Then for the wood, I'm going to be using Flat Earth. Now I'm a huge fan of their folding M1 carbine, so I just had to use this model on it, and I absolutely love it. I had some of the old metal US Airborne from yonks and yonks ago, and all the M1 carbine barrels had broken off in transit, so I just love the fact they've included these in the plastic set with the folding stock. It's a really nice touch. And also painting the bayonet handle in that colour as well. Now obviously for the medal we want to go with a dark colour, so I'm going to be using dark grey for that one. So there's various parts that we need to paint. We've obviously got the metallic parts of the actual rifle itself, and then on the actual rifle sling there's a few little metal brackets, as well as the top of that water bottle, and also the bottom of his shoes, the soles of his shoes, as well as the bayonet, the metal part of the bayonet. Now for the scrim on the helmet, I'm using old wood for that one. You can change it up, you could use like a green and a brown, but I think this colour looks really good, and it matches with the Band of Brothers theming to these miniatures. I mean, you can't not paint these and just be thinking of Band of Brothers like throughout the duration of painting these miniatures. Now for the gloves, I'm going to go with dark yellow. You can just paint these as flesh, but I thought I'm going to add some nice bright yellow gloves. Yes, they weren't super bright and yellow, but they had a yellow tinge to them. So you know what, I'm going to paint these in yellow, make them really stand out a bit. And yeah, I think they'll look very cool. And also I'm going to be painting the sheath for that bayonet in German camo medium brown. So that's the one that goes around his right foot and boot. He's got a strap going around there, so that's his jump knife. And that's what we're going to be painting that in. Right, so now we're going to go ahead and give this guy a wash of no oil and technical medium at a 1:1 ratio. This is my recipe for washing all of my figures, regardless of if it's tools on a vehicle or if it's a full wash for a miniature like this one. It's always the same. So yeah, it never ever changes. Right, now it's the fun part. So now we're using US Field Drama and doing our first layer. So I've zoomed it in slightly. And you can see here that I'm practically just painting the entirety of the uniform again, except leaving that original washed base color. So it's had the original US Field drab with that no oil in the dark recesses, and then everything else is getting a coat of this nice new fresh US Field drab. Then with that done, I'm going to go US Field Drab and Iraqi Sand at like a 2:1 ratio. You can also go 1:1. Just try and make it not too bright, and you can see you get that really nice colour to it. It's going to give you that nice sort of worn look, and also really hit those Band of Brother feels. And this is, I say a highlight, but it's more of like a layout. I'm still being very generous, hitting the tops of those sharp lines and just scraping in the details. So then we're moving on to khaki. So the principle remains identical to what we were just doing with the uniform. So we're doing khaki again. As you can see, there's lots of details on all of these bits of equipment, the bag and the magazines and the water bottle, etc. So you don't really have to make up too much. You can see that I'm filling in all the necessary areas that need to be filled in, scratching it in with my size 0 brush and just letting the brush do the majority of the work for me. And then khaki and stone grey, again at that 2:1 ratio. The reason I normally add a little bit more of the original colour than the lighter colour is just because I don't like them to be a bit unrealistic, so I like them not to stand out as much. Obviously they stand out a little bit more because they're lighter, but if I go too much of that light colour, it just looks a bit too unrealistic for my liking. And again, I'm just scratching it in, but mainly focusing on using this as a highlight. Now with the helmet, I'm going to be dry brushing German camo beige World War II. So just get an old battered old brush and just dry brush. That's just to capture all of the helmet netting over that helmet, and don't worry about getting some of that on that old wood of the scrim, because we're going to fix that up right now. So we go over the scrim with old wood. Again, there's no real accuracy to this. This is just get some on your paintbrush and just throw in a few little lines, a few little dots here of what you know and what you've painted, and then go ahead and hit it with old wood and Iraqi sand at a 1:1 ratio. You can also then go straight with just Iraqi sand if you wanted to skip this ratio and mixture nonsense. Just go old wood and then Iraqi sand if you want a really bright scrim colour. So with those reinforced bits of padding on his uniform, we're going to go ahead and hit them again with US dark green. And this is a really nice touch to the figures. A lot of companies miss these out and sort of let you do them yourselves, but I like the fact that Warlord Games have included these on their fantastic US Airborne sculpts. So then US dark green and German camo beige World War II at a 2:1 ratio. And you can see that I'm just scratching it in. These figures are absolutely lovely, guys. I would recommend these. If you like plastic figures, then definitely give these a go, especially if you're a fan of Warlord plastics. So with the boots and that chin strap, we're going to go over them now with saddle brown. Lots of detail on the boots, as you'd expect from these Warlord plastic kits. So you don't really have to look too hard to figure out where you need to paint. But yeah, just scratching all those nice little bits of details that are there for us to scratch in. And then to finish them off, we're going to use saddle brown and German camo beige World War II at a 1:1 ratio. And if you make a few mess ups here, especially with the boots, not so much the chin strap, but the boots, don't worry too much, because if you're like me, you're just going to end up dry brushing over the boots when you put his texture down. So yeah, don't worry about that. Then for that sheath, for that knife, we're using German camo medium brown. There's not really too much to say. It's literally just a bayonet sheath, so just adding in some of that colour, and then we're just highlighting it with that German camo medium brown and orange brown at that 1:1 ratio, because it is quite a bright colour. It gives it a nice warm sort of leathery look to it. They did come in a variety of colours, so it's up to you what you want to paint it as, but I thought this just looks the best from a tabletop perspective. Now the wood, I'm using flat earth to paint the wood. There is no specific method to the way I paint wood, especially if you're a long time viewer of the channel, you will know exactly how I paint wood. It is very, very simple. It's literally a bit of this flat earth, and I just start scraping in random lines to try and simulate those wood grains. It is very, very difficult at this scale. Some people are absolute wizards at it, but for me, I'm very, very lazy. And then just add in a few little lines for the handle with that knife or bayonet. Now we then hit the wood again with flat earth and orange brown at a 1:1 ratio, but this time it's literally just doing exactly what we did before, but just adding in a few less amount of brush strokes on there, and again trying to simulate those wood grains. And then to finish, I go with orange brown. It's very, very bright orange brown, so try not to be too generous with it. Just put a very small amount on the tip of your brush and just scrape on a little bit of detail. Now for the metal, we want to hit there with black grey. Black grey is a really nice in between sort of black and grey colour, and I think it works really nicely for metal as well, which is obviously what I'm trying to achieve here. So I'm hitting all the various metal parts of the rifle as well as his canteen, and then I'm going to follow it up with black grey and basalt grey at a 1:1 ratio. And there's plenty of details on this rifle that you need to capture, so again, you're not really struggling. You shouldn't really struggle to notice where the details are and what needs to be highlighted or layered, because the figure's just got tons and tons of detail on there for you. And then to finish it, we're going to use basalt grey. This is a very, very medium sort of light grey, so try not to add too much of it. Again, be very careful with how much you're adding. Just use the tip of your brush with a little amount on there and let your brush do the work. And if you make a mistake, that's okay, because you've only got a tiny little bit of paint to worry about. You've not got a huge blob of paint on your battered old brush. Now we follow up the gloves with dark yellow, and I paint them the sort of same way I'd paint flesh. I'm sort of adding in all the little grooves that you can see on the hand there, and then hitting the individual fingers, making sure that he's got 4 fingers and a thumb. If you can see the thumb, most times you can't, but we want to make sure he's got 4 fingers, not some sort of alien. And then to finish that off, we use flat yellow. Now after all this, you can add in your own insignia or whatever you want to do, but I decided against that just because it's very time consuming, and there is some good decos out there. I believe even Warlord had some at some point. So yeah, absolutely thrilled to have got my hands on some of these US Airborne figures, the new plastics, because they are absolutely lovely. I would really recommend pre-ordering yourself a set, especially if you love yourself some plastic figures. Now do let me know below how you found this tutorial, if you're going to be getting some plastic figures. Don't forget, I've got that affiliate link which is in the comment section, which if you wouldn't mind using, if you are going to pre-order some of these, would be absolutely superb. Now a huge thank you goes out to the team at Warlord Games for sending me out these samples, as well as all of my Patreons and YouTube channel members. There's so many of you guys now, it really is overwhelming, but I absolutely love you all, so thank you so much. An additional thank you goes to my Panzer Aces, that's Colin, Patrick, Oscar, James and Panzer Jim. You guys are absolute legends, thanks for being those aces. Alright guys, let me know below what 28mm tutorial you would like to see next, and until then I will catch you at the next one.